First Things First is sponsored by Ram Trucks, built to serve.
Good morning, everyone. Welcome to First Things First. Jenna Wolf, very busy. Nick Wright
sorry.
is counting
My bad.
his
I was just counting those winnings. Washington football team. What do we do on this show? We give out winners. I know we're not the gambling show,
Hang on.
but we might as well be because we out here giving out big underdog winners, Jenna.
Nick came up with that joke early this morning. Probably thought to himself, how much cash would make for a good joke? We have about $200 in singles there. How much was necessary for that joke that you needed to catch?
Hold on,
you put
Jenna.
the big bills.
Don't lie to America. Don't lie to America. This is the Washington football team coming through, bringing Daddy some money. Thank you very much.
He sent me the ticket last night, Jenna. It's true. He sent me the ticket last night.
It's true. The ticket. Yeah, buddy.
I know.
Let's go.
A lot of money. Well, let us start there this morning. We're in Pittsburgh, where the NFL's final undefeated team was defeated. Steelers have no more feet. Hosting Washington, they blew a 14-0 lead just before the half. This team doesn't do that. They also played sloppy all night. 7 drop balls for Pittsburgh, their most in 15 seasons. You cannot win that way. The Pittsburgh Steelers are perfect no longer. Here's head coach Mike Tomlin with the silver lining, though, after the loss.
Different points along the journey, you get a chance to learn about yourself, who you are, what you're made of, individually and collectively. And it takes the journey to reveal that. And so, we're faced with a loss now, so we'll get an opportunity to smile in the face of it.
All right, Brandon, let me start with you. What did you learn about the Steelers in this, their first loss of the season?
Well, first of all, Nick, great job. But that wasn't a reach. If you watch film, then you would have saw that this was a close matchup. When you look at the trenches, when you look at, the secondary versus the wide receiver position, like this was a close matchup. Now, look, it was a tough loss for the Steelers, but I feel like they handled the loss well. Mike Tomlin, his leadership is on full display right now. I think he's doing a phenomenal job of showing us the art of leadership. But there's 2 things that I want to talk about. But before I even get to the Pittsburgh Steelers, we got to highlight the Washington Redskins. They played phenomenal. Alex Smith has this team believing that they not only can win this division, but they can actually make some noise if they get into the playoffs, or maybe when they get into the playoffs. They really believe that they're a good team and trending in the right direction. I wish we had more time to talk about, Alex Smith and the Washington Redskins, but to me it was more about the Steelers because of their record and the excitement around them. 2 big challenges around the Steelers, Jenna. 2. Number 1, on the defensive side, this is something that you can't fix. They're banged up right now. This part of the season, It's a war of attrition. Bud Dupree goes down last week against the Baltimore Ravens with an ACL. You have your linebacker, Rob Spill, go down with a knee injury. Hopefully he's okay. You have Joe Hayden goes down with a concussion. You can't fix personnel issues at this point in the season. The second issue that is fixable is the run game. Like, what's happening in the run game? The first 5 games of this year, they did a phenomenal job of running the ball. That's one of the things we always talked about. I'm like, man, this running game, they're almost averaging 5 yards a carry. But since then, they went from one of the best running teams to one of the worst running teams in the NFL. That is a concern, but that's fixable. I don't think you lean on Big Ben to cook. That's not the recipe for success for the Pittsburgh Steelers. Well, what you need is play good defense, because you have a really good defense, Nick. You run the ball and you throw when you have to. But I think they got too excited with Big Ben and these young wide receivers making plays.
So listen, what they have tried to do is turn their short, quick passing game into their running game. We've heard the term the pass game as an extension of the running game. For the Steelers, the passing game has replaced their running game, and their offense is way too predictable. They do 2 things on offense, and running the ball is neither one of them. They do quick, immediate passes and deep shots down the sideline. They're not taking intermediate shots in the middle of the field. Big Ben is either getting the ball out of his hands in 1.5 seconds, or he's holding on to it for a decent amount of time so he can take a shot to one of their star receivers down the sidelines. And once again, of course, the Steelers have the deepest, maybe best receiving core overall, or one of them in the entire league. But Brandon, to your point, the reason that I picked Washington to beat them is because this loss has been a long time coming. The Steelers looked unbelievable against the Browns. That was October 18th. Think about what we've seen from them since then if you throw out the games where they were playing third-string quarterbacks in Cincinnati and Jacksonville. Against this defense, those teams are drawing dead. When they're playing real competition, right? Tennessee, they looked really good for about 2.5 quarters. And then Tennessee scored 17 straight, almost stole that game. Baltimore has a chance to win the game the first time they play. Lamar passing into the end zone, despite Lamar having 4 turnovers, 1 pick six, and 1 near pick six. They were down 10 points going into the fourth quarter against Garrett Gilbert and the Cowboys. And then last week, RG3 fumbles on the opening drive, throws a pick six on the second drive, and the Ravens are still the COVID Ravens in that football game. Pittsburgh has not looked good since, let me rephrase it. Pittsburgh has not looked nearly as good as their record would suggest since October.
Right.
Yeah.
So not only was this loss to me predictable, I don't think they're done losing unless they fix, Jenna, some major issues I feel they have on the offensive side of the ball.
Well, we should just mention James Conner was out last night, and they didn't really get anything from Snell or from McFarland. But Steelers tight end, and that could be why Big Ben had to do so much. Steelers tight end Eric Ebron took to Twitter after the loss, saying, "This humbling game. I'm happy about this loss. The fire has been relit. We will be ready come Sunday." That's lemonade right there, kids. Wilds, you've been on this corner. Any chance this loss will be, let's call it, beneficial to the Steelers?
This take makes sense, but it does. I just believe there's too much of a good thing. You can have too much sleep. You can be too nice of a guy. You can be on vacation for too long. You can exercise too much, and I think you can win too many games. And you know, Nick, this is rooted in my deep-seated fear and frustration when the Patriots went 18-0 and lost. That's where it all stems from. I reckon. It's traumatic for me. They started 12-0, obviously, as well, and I wish that we got a loss. So I'm actually happy that the Steelers got a loss. But one caveat, Nick. Eric Ebron, after dropping the ball, you can't say this. You can't say it. Someone else has to say it. You can write a little note and hand it to somebody. And we can be like, hey, I actually think this is good for us to lose, but I can't say it. I dropped a bunch of balls. Like, so can you say it and kind of get it out there and kind of energize the team? But I dropped too many balls to actually say it, Nick.
So 2 quick things on this, and then I want to see where Brandon stands on it. First of all, you referenced the 07 Pats. I would like to give a retroactive from 24 hours ago apology. Yesterday on the show, I tried to reference the 07 Pats, and to set it up, I was like, I'm going to put it in terms Wilds can understand, which when I rewatched the show, I was like, that really seemed mean. It's not what I meant. I just meant something because I know that season is so vivid to you. You have emblazoned on your memory, and so apologies there. Here's why I don't buy that this is good for the Steelers, Brandon. It's all about the 1 seed this year because there's only 1 bye. And while the Steelers are still the 1 seed because of the tiebreaker, if I'm right and they've got another loss potentially coming, then the margin for error is gone. And the Chiefs still have to go to New Orleans. So let's just say that, for sake of argument, the Chiefs lose that game. The Chiefs now can lose that game and still be alive for the 1 seed because the Steelers lost this game. And so I think that the wake-up call, Brandon, should have come when you almost lost to the Cowboys or to RG3 and what was left of the Ravens. You shouldn't have needed an actual loss where you were up 14-0 to the Washington football team in order to have the wake-up call. That would be my argument.
Yeah, I mean, I agree, but let's jump into that locker room right now. I feel like Coach Tomlin is doing a phenomenal job, and I talked about it earlier, showing us the art of leadership. Because what we're supposed to do, and that's not just in sport, that's in life as well, is we're supposed to take it one day at a time, 1 week at a time, right? Like when you look too far into the future, that's where you lose. You start leaning too much on the past and you're living in the past too much, that's when you lose. Coach Tomlin understands that it wasn't about what they did last month. It wasn't about how they opened up the season. It's about how you finish. They do have some real issues, Nick, but at the end of the day, you are what your records say you are, and this is a good team. Look at how Coach responded last week against the Baltimore Ravens when they won. He was ticked off. He was cursing. He was upset. He said they played like trash. Yep. A lot of people are like, why would he do that? He just won the game. Because he understood that this time was coming. He was trying to prepare his team. He was trying to tell his team that we are not where we think we are. Now you fast forward to this week. What was his behavior, his tone after? Right? It was a total opposite because he doesn't want to go in that locker room telling those guys like the world is coming to an end because we lost one game. So I think this is all on Coach Tomlin. I think they get right where they want to be towards the end of the season. It's going to be tough when you look at the remaining of the schedule, but they can get it done.